Welcome everyone. Thanks so much for attending tonight. We're going to kick it off very shortly, but just to let you know, you can take photos. If you want to take recordings, that's fine as well. We're going to start off with a little video to kick it off. This guy's name is Lex Dove. He does a better intro than me, but then I'll pop back on and I'll introduce Cal from there. So we'll kick it off with this. Oh, and if everyone can just switch their phones off as far as ringers and everything goes.
When you turn on the news and see politicians raving about vaccinations, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why every commercial break has an ad for 5G. It's because this is really just a clever way for governments and corporations to send you an offer that you accept unknowingly. This happens through a concept called tacit agreement, which is when you agree to something without even saying anything. You see, in law, silence is acquiescence. So when you stay silent, you're actually saying yes. You're saying yes to that tower down the street, that meter on the side of your house, those streaks you see up in the sky, and the very possibility that a vaccine could ever be mandatory. The good news is, now that you're aware of this offer to contract, all you have to do is respond. And this is done through conditional acceptance. With a series of lawful notices, you can send a counteroffer to corporate executives and government officials, stating that you will accept their offer on the condition they can prove that it's safe. Something we know they cannot and will not do. And when these individuals fail to provide proof, you're able to hold them personally liable and charge them a fee for every day they continue to act. Inpower has already seen success in several countries where officials have stepped down after receiving these documents. This means that if we get together en masse and send thousands of documents at the same time, we can make real change in the world, and we won't need weapons, elections, or protests to do it. All we need are pieces of paper that can be printed from home and sent in the mail. It turns out, changing the world is easy when you're in power.
All right, so that is Lex Dove. Lex Dove was a concept we came up with probably about 12 months ago. This is not Lex Dove. So Lex Dove was a concept we came up with about 12 months ago to try to explain what is somewhat of a complex system. So a bit of background on myself. My name's David Armstrong. I started a group called Living Free Movement, and we just had a big festival up in the Pillar Valley called the Living Free Festival. We had a great turnout, and by having this festival, we were able to invite Cal out to Australia. I actually joined the board of Inpower about 6 years ago. When I joined the board, there was a video that went viral called Inpower Episode 1. And it was about the smart meter agenda, and it was about Cal's story in particular, which you'll go into further. But this video was really inspiring for me. It was actually sent to me by a lady in Australia, and I reached out to Inpower and I was saying that we need something like this in Australia. Now, little did I know that they'd only really just gone viral. So when I got in contact, they were getting overwhelmed by people reaching out to do this process called the Notice of Liability, which we'll talk about shortly. But effectively, they didn't have anything in place to be able to deal with the overwhelming load of people asking questions and how the process works and what to do next and all of that. So Cal, who came up with the Notice of Liability, was working construction and then was working 10, 12-hour days trying to answer everyone's emails. And that was about the time in which I got involved, and I was quickly sort of asked to come onto the board. I'm not quite sure why, but they must have seen something in me that could help them. And then eventually I ended up helping to build what we call the NOL Creator, which is effectively an online platform to automate the process of doing this system. And then we built a membership site in which people can go on and get their answers to what they need to do and everything else. So Cal and I go back 6, almost 7 years now. We tried to catch up probably, 4 or 5 years ago. We were really excited. I was going to head across the United States, and I'd done some work in some anti-child trafficking stuff over on the US-Mexico border. And for that reason, I was blocked to go on the flight. So I went out to the airport. Everyone was over meeting up, all the rest of the board, and I got blocked at the airport. So we didn't get to actually meet in person. I had to go home, and so this was the first time we'd been able to catch up in person, which was about a week ago. So Cal's a very, very dear friend of mine, someone I have a huge amount of respect for, and have followed on his journey, both on the spiritual sense, but also with the notice of liability and Inpower Movement. So very happy and pleased to be able to bring Cal down to Melbourne and share him with you guys. So please give a warm welcome to Cal Washington.
Hello. Yeah, got it. Thanks. I'd like to thank Brad and Peter for allowing this to take place here. It's a great venue, and good to see you all coming out on a blustery day. We were up north, which sounds weird for me because I'm in Canada, and everything. As soon as you say north, it means colder, but here it means warmer. So it's everything's a little upside down. So it's like. You guys drive on the wrong side of the road. I panic sometimes when Dave's driving, and it's like, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, right, we're going in that lane. Yeah, so it's great to be here. This is my first time to Australia. I've enjoyed it. My son and I just really like the beach. We're kind of beach people, and I've never seen, pristine beaches like this with nobody on them. Like, you just don't see that in North America. Like, it's just not available. So I don't think you realize how fortunate you are to have that. But anyway, yeah, so I'm Cal Washington. I just want to kind of figure out who's here so we can kind of figure out what to say, because I never know what to say until I'm standing here with a mic and going, oh, there's a bunch of people looking at me like I've got something to say. So how many are Inpower members? Okay, so it's quite a few of you. How many came to find out about Inpower? How many came because you thought there might be free food? Okay. All right. And the rest of you, I'm not sure why you're here. Yeah, okay. Okay. So we'll probably do a little bit of an Inpower presentation. We've got one lined up, so we'll just kind of go through that, and then we'll have a Q&A afterwards, if that's okay. I don't know how long we can stay in here, but and I don't know how long I can keep talking. So Inpower came from, it's not something that I dreamed up or aspired to or even thought was possible. It wasn't on my bucket list. I went through something, I learned a whole bunch of things the hard way, dealing with courts and governments, and came to some conclusions by doing trial and error, mostly, and watching the reactions. These things started to become more and more solid as the reactions kept repeating. So then you go, okay, there's something to this, what is it? And then you go a little deeper. Because some of you may have heard of rabbit holes, and some of you have been down some. And you can get kind of lost in these rabbit holes, and really they don't lead you to any kind of remedy or anything practical that you can use. It's just sort of information about how things work, etc. So I was trying to, because I had something that was really imposed in my life, I was looking for specific remedies to get away from that thing that was just dragging me. So I didn't spend a lot of time going deep down rabbit holes if they didn't produce something that was going to help me get out of this, because it was very imperative. I was being arrested and pepper sprayed and, you know, I don't know what you call it here, but in the Americans, in Canada it's called an ERT team. It's an RCMP military end. In the United States it's SWAT. I don't know, but it's the guys in the black with no, yeah. Well, I had those guys at my house, and they beat up my brother almost to death. So I was going through it. I mean, deep in it, and spent a lot of time in the back of police cars and all that. So I was really specific in what I wanted to spend my time researching. I saw a lot of rabbit holes, but the rabbit holes that I did go down were because I saw the reactions. So I would try something. You know, when I first got into commerce in particular, the judge ran out of the room the first time I tried it. And I'm kind of a skeptical person. I always think everything's a coincidence until I can see it 3 times. That's just my personal thing that I have. So he ran out of the room, but I thought he had diarrhea, to tell you the truth. Because there was no as I was coming through the door, he was running off as if he had to really go, right? So I'm like, okay, what's happening there? And everybody in the courtroom is looking at each other like, you know, why did the judge just get up and leave? And it was later on I thought, well, I wonder if it was because we tried this thing, because nothing was really working, so I wasn't expecting this to work that great either, but it did, and that's the main thing. So we thought, okay, well, if that was the cause of him running out, let's try it again. I had 3 cases running, and then we were helping other people with all kinds of different cases. So we, again, started doing commercial instruments, and again, over and over and over and over and over and over. You sort of get the message here. It wasn't 3, it was like 30 judges acting totally out of character that I had seen for years. So we were definitely onto something. And I got free of the whole thing. They left me alone for about 1.5 years, and then I got arrested at work. And they arrested me on a long weekend thinking, well, he's only done one. Up to that time, I'd been in jail a few times, but it was only one night, so I was always let go the next day. So they'd never held me for more than 24 hours, really. So this time they got me on a Friday on a long weekend, and Tuesday would have been the next court, the day that the court would be open. So I was held over a whole weekend to Tuesday to see if I would change my ways, because I was a bad man and not obeying the law and not showing up at court. So that ended up being 60 days. Because I didn't change my ways, I didn't follow the law, and I mostly didn't sign anything, because I knew everything was commercial. So the 60 days for a 1-day trial was because they held me without bail. I wasn't sentenced for 60 days. It was just literally, they held me without bail. So long story, trying to short it so we can get to the presentation. At the end of it, my friends put a habeas corpus in, which is a prerogative writ, where the Queen is involved with these writs, the Queen at the time. So there's these things called prerogative writs, and they apply here in Australia. So you should look them up. Your government will tell you can't do them, but you can. So because they actually go up to the king, and we share the same guy that pretended to be king. So same guy in England. So they put the habeas corpus in, and they put in another promissory note. There was already a bond on the case that I had put in, but they put in a really negotiable instrument that was like $300 million right away. At the end of that, they ended up owing me the whole thing, and so then we tried to collect after I got out of jail, and I'm just shortening everything, but because it's pretty dramatic. But we came across a document because we tried a couple things and they ignored it. And then we got this one document. I had it notarized at the U.S. consulate, and it just about blew up the government. They panicked, and they put it in the newspaper that they owed $300 million. They were on holidays at the time. It was in January. They called everybody back from their vacations to deal with this. So there was a lot of angry people, but there's nothing they could do. I was following a higher law, and there's nothing they could do. They had to actually deal with this. So they never did pay it. It escalated to the federal level because I was doing provincial, and the clerk of the Privy Council stepped down on a day that he got his notice of default. We sent to him. We kind of knew who he was. We're not expecting this. It's just like going back to the judge. Weren't expecting him to run out of the room. And he stepped down on the day that he got his notice, and he had done a press conference in the morning and didn't mention any kind of retirement. The mail showed up after the press conference around 11 o'clock in the morning. By noon, grabbed his pencils, and he had been the CEO of the Bank of Canada, which is our central bank. He had also been director at the IMF. This is a guy who would have had audience with the Queen, audience with Rothschilds. He ran in that echelon. He stepped down. Then we went, oh man, we're really onto something here. That was like, I can never be convinced that what I've learned is false because of that event. It was written up in all the newspapers, the national newspapers. What made this guy leave on that short notice? Now they've gone back and tried to change the story, but when it first came out, they said, this would have to be something vicious to make a man as savvy as him step down with no notice. They had all kinds of conjecture, but it was these 3 dudes in Surrey that were sending pieces of paper in the mail, and that's never in the news. So, and you'll see in the presentation that some of the people that you know got our documents, but it's not in the paper. So, with that, we'll just start the presentation. You can load it up. Is that it? This side. Okay. There we go. So, Inpower came about because of what happened with the 300 million. It was in the newspapers, and groups like this. There was talk amongst us. These 3 guys in Surrey had done this thing, and all this stuff was happening in the news. So I met a guy he was just one of many that came to hear about this. His name was Josh Del Sol, and he put out a movie on the smart meters. And so we became friends around that time, and then quite a few years later he did the movie, and he was showing the movie about the harms of smart meters, but there was no solution. So people would be in a room like this, watch the movie, and then go out like, oh, we're all gonna die. And so he saw that that's not really helpful. I mean, you want to tell people what's going on, but it's all negative and all the problems, no solutions. So he remembered the 300 million thing, and some other things I had done in years after that, helping people with tax cases and foreclosures and all kinds of things we dabbled in, and saw the same kind of results. Judges gone, even on tax cases, and anyway, it just reconfirmed and confirmed over years and years that law merchant was a jurisdiction that they could not get on top of, and it was controlling the courts, governments, and everything. They're all subject to it. And once you understand that, the game is over. It's like the Wizard of Oz curtain goes back, and it's like, yeah, you can sit up there and yell all you want on the wall, but I can see you, this is the reality right here, the little dude and the. So, so what I'm teaching you, or what I'm explaining here, Inpower is based on my experiences with Law Merchant and seeing all these people run from it. I've never collected a dime, so I'm just telling you how it is. But I did get free, and they leave me alone, which was my goal when I was being oppressed. I just, like, get out of my life. Don't tell me how to run my family, and don't tell me that I have to do this or have to do that or have to declare bankruptcy and all these things they were telling me I had to do. I'm like, why? What did I do? I went through a divorce, and now I'm, public enemy number one. Like, it just was really odd to me how you could live, basically a normal life, and then all of a sudden you're an absolute criminal, a deadbeat dad. It's like, what do you mean deadbeat dad? Anyway, don't want to rant too much about that. So the document that made the clerk of the Privy Council step down, I said, well, that document is what caused the most angst, like people just dodging it and running and hiding, and like it was incredible to watch. So I took that document and I modified it to work for the smart meters, because I didn't know much about smart meters. I asked Josh, are they putting up like door hangers on the house? Are they sending notices, like using the word notice in your utility bills? And he said, yep. I said, well, then they're moving in commerce. They're moving in what's called Law Merchant, and they're getting tacit agreement. So it's easy to deal with. All you have to do is acknowledge the offer and counter offer. And anybody that's done any kind of real estate, or in particular real estate, if you list your house, you have to sell it until the listing ends. Like you don't, once you put offers out there into the public, you cannot pull them back. So you got to understand what's happening with the governments. They're offering for you to do all these things. In Canada, most of the acts, if not all of them, are not signed. They're not given royal assent. So what are these things? They're offers. And we go, okay, I'll follow that. I guess I don't really like it, but... And we complain about it, but we don't look at it the way it actually is. So if almost everything that's happening in the world is an offer. And this goes into spiritual realms. This goes back to our greatest grandparents, Adam and Eve, with the apple, if you understand that story. There was an offer. They took it. Problems started. And then if you look at other stories in the Bible, the Israelites ended up being slaves in Egypt before they were even really Israelites. They got out, and every man did as they saw in their own heart to do, following their divine, part of themselves, and everything was harmonious. Then they clamored for a king. Then the problems started. And these governments, it's all the same thing. It's just, we were all born into this, but it's not the way this creation, this thing, whatever it is we're in, or on, or whatever it is, or no matter what shape it is, for those that are going down those rabbit holes, it doesn't matter. There's a design that you can see, and I use the apple as the model, because the apple has not just one seed in it, but multiple seeds, and each one of those seeds does not make another apple. It makes a tree of apples with seeds in it. It's abundant. The design is abundance. It's by design. We're here to tend it, but we're told, oh no, it's scarce. You gotta go and get these pieces of paper called money to get the apples. They're coming out of the ground. It's a lie. And so there's a lot of lies here, and fundamental lies, so we can't see them. That's why I throw these in. You'll wake up at night. Oh yeah. So we have to tend the thing, but it comes out of the earth. All the food and all the air, everything's here is provided for every living species in a nice harmony. But we've been led to put it out of balance, and we can't see it for what it is, like, because we're in it, we're part of it, like we bought in through these offers. So Inpower came about after I did the document. I went to Seattle and spoke to a smaller group than this, and they all kind of lit up and started doing the documents. We had, again, people stepping down in Seattle. It was a city utility, so we had two mayors step down, and I think 6 city councilors. So the same thing was happening that happened with me. It's like just repeating. So there is a cause and effect. It's not 100%. I'm not trying to make it seem like that, but there is a percentage of people who will step down because of so many documents go out. So that's why we want to do everything in mass. So one thing led to another. So this is going back to, I didn't come up with this. I just went along with it as like a leading. One thing led to another. It was a hard road at first, and it's still a hard road to some degree. But God did this. I'm just going to say it. So there's a definite leading, and I was given more information as I kept going through doors. So like you kind of go through a door, and you're like, I don't know if I want to go through that door. And then you decide to, yeah, okay, I'll do this. And then something else opens up. You're now in another room with doors. And it just was a leading like that. It was a path, because I can see it in hindsight. I couldn't see it while I was on it. I'm on it right now, and I can't see where I am. But I know I'm on that path. I saw it really clearly when I went to London. I'll open up a whole other story here. Anyway, it was about a 15-year thing to get me standing in front of Buckingham Palace, which was not on my bucket list. And yet there I am, because I thought I was doing something else, which I was doing. And then I went there to speak, and then I went to look for drums, because I'm a drummer. I play those things right there. And so I went into London to look for vintage drums from England, and I ended up at Buckingham Palace, and I never saw drums. But after I left Buckingham Palace, I realized that was the reason why I went to London. That was the primary reason, but I didn't know it until I was walking away from Buckingham Palace, and I went, oh, that's why I'm here. And I couldn't be here if this hadn't happened. And that wouldn't have happened if that didn't happen. But that wouldn't have happened. Like, it went all the way back about 15 years, and I went, who did this? Because it was clear that all that led up to me standing in front of Buckingham Palace. So that's what Inpower is built on. That's what it's about. And this is what we're doing. This is our mission statement. I'm sure you've already read it by now, so I'll just move on. That's so yeah, my thing started around 2000 when my divorce. So you can kind of see the progression here. So the first 2014 is when we did the first sort of seed groups. So 2012, I got the Queen in default because of right after the Privy Council guy. I should just tell you that was after the Privy Council guy stepped down. We knew we were into something very serious. And I was given the choice, another offer, to keep going after the money. I was trying to collect $360 million, or go after the Queen. And it was a clear offer, and I understood it, and I decided to stop going after the money and go after the Queen. So I got the Queen into a default situation, which is how I was able to go in front of Buckingham Palace and do what I did, which we won't get into. But, so that's the 2012 thing. Right now at 2022, we got online after Dave built the NOL Creator, which was like an automated system to generate the documents, so you don't have to figure out stuff, because it's a little nerve-wracking when you deal with these documents. They're quite powerful when you see them even. They're like there's something on them, and so that helps. And so that the Creator came out about 2 years ago, and then we relaunched this thing. So back here we started when we were doing all the Seattle things, and we got inundated, like Dave said. Josh and I went on the Dr. Mercola show, and we just got thousands of people just like emailing, and we couldn't deal with it. So then we went, okay, we got to come up with systems and automate and all this stuff. So that took a long time to get to where we could reopen. We had to literally shut it down. And so we opened about a year and a half ago, and already we are at we're probably, as I'm speaking, we're at $11 billion in bills of exchange worldwide, like all the claimants doing it. And it's not that many people. Well, I'll get into that here. So you don't understand what a bill of exchange is. I'll yeah, okay. So we'll get into that. So this is from the Bible, and some of you have just shut off, and that's normal. I'm going to do a little demonstration. This is something that's really interesting. How many do not have an opinion about the Bible? There it is. See, one. Was that? Okay. Do not have an opinion about the Bible. Yeah, everyone does. Watch this. How many have read it? So, as you can see, there's quite a few people in here, and I'm not asking what your opinion is, but your opinion is not your own. It can't be, because you haven't experienced it. And I'll demonstrate that, because we all have that in various things. This one in particular is on purpose to make sure you do not open that book. So you'll have all kinds of things running through your head as soon as I said Bible. And that was put there. It's not your own opinion. And if you just thought about it, you can't have an opinion about the restaurant down the street if you haven't eaten there. Like, you just can't. Somebody can give you an opinion about it. Yeah, I heard that it was this, but it's not your own opinion. So we'll just leave that at that. It's just a cool demonstration, because it's for everybody, because you have opinions about a whole bunch of things that aren't your own, and you got them from childhood and all kinds of things, and TV and whatever. So anyway, this is a verse from the Bible, and it's from Revelation 18. Now, Revelation 18, if you're going to read anything in the Bible, if okay, I'm only going to read 2 chapters, I would read Genesis 1 and Revelation 18. The beginning and the end. Because this is where Babylon falls. And when I'm talking about governments and corporations and the stock market and like everything that's going on in the world, it's called Babylon in here, okay? So I heard another voice from heaven, and that's important. For those that have read the Bible, a voice from heaven doesn't happen very often. So I heard another voice from heaven. You should pay attention when there's a voice from heaven. Judging by the other stories, yeah. So, I'm not saying this is the same voice because it doesn't say that, but so I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins." So I'll just tell you something about the original languages. So the English Bibles are translations, all of them, including the King James. So that, just, it is what it is. So the word sins in the original language can be translated as debts. So this could say, "I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her debts." Money? Yeah, anybody heard of? Yeah. "And ye receive not of her plagues." So something bad's going to happen to this thing called her, which is Babylon. "For her sins," her debts, "have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double." This is what we are doing. Most people talk about the first verse, which is verse 4, and that you get out of her, run away, like head to the hills and all that, and so that's very prevalent. But the voice keeps speaking. This whole thing is the voice speaking, and actually it goes past this. But they miss out on the action part here. His people, or if it's a he or a him, because it doesn't say that either. His people or her people are supposed to be doing something here. Reward, like that's an action word. As she has rewarded you. So whatever she's been doing to you, do it back to her. And it's not in a vindictive way, because they use the word reward. So it's a positivity, or at least non-aggressive, non-negative thing. So as she has rewarded you, and double up to her, so there's some kind of mathematical thing to it, according to her works. In the cup, in the very same cup which she has filled, you fill to her double. So if you read the whole chapter, and I suggest you do, it's about commerce. Everything is commerce, commerce, commerce. And the merchants stand afar off, wondering where all their wealth went. So if the voice's people do just that, there's only two instructions: come out and do this, their wealth disappears. So it's all commerce. So what we're doing is taking their offers, flipping it back on them, and billing them. Has anybody here got a bill from the government? Or from a large corporation? Yeah. So what I figured out and it's not because I'm smart, I just kind of went through the hard way, is that law merchant is alive and well, and this is the ancient customs, etc., of the merchant class. So merchants, going back to the Middle Ages, were a class. You could not aspire to be a merchant, just like you could not aspire to be a royal. You were born into it. It was genetic, elite, blue blood. Catching my drift? The wealthy, the rich, the haves in comparison to the have-nots. They were born into these families, these ancient bloodlines. I'm sure some of you heard that. They were the merchant families. They are now called banking families, but it's still the same thing. The banking thing is just a larger version of the merchant tactics and customs, etc. So again, we're using like a jujitsu or aikido move where it's their action and we are reacting to it. They are filling a cup and giving it to us. We're filling it double and giving it back. If she doesn't fill the cup, we don't fill the cup double back to her. If they don't make the offer, we can't make a counter offer. It's their energy, their motion, and we are flipping it back. We're taking the tail of the snake, sticking it in the mouth of the snake, and it will eat itself. If it stops eating, it will stop eating itself. That's it. We're not doing anything. So we're not judging it. We're just going, okay, you made an offer. Here's the counter offer. If you can't prove that these weapons are safe, I'm going to charge you $20,000 a day. Do we have a deal? If you go silent, then you have agreed, because you just did that to me. So tit for tat, or I don't know what you say here, but you know what I'm saying. So this is how it works. So these are the 4 offers that are out there that we're dealing with. And the reason why we deal with these offers only is because they're happening to everybody everywhere. When we're in an automated system trying to do a mass action, we can't have too many matters or too many subject matter that we have to deal with. So we want to deal with the ones that are happening to everybody in exactly the same way, because that removes one variable that we have to deal with. The smart meters are the same here, Canada, Denmark, Japan, they're all the same. The vaccines, especially the one that came out a few years ago, was the same vaccines everywhere in the world. There's no variance on it. 5G is 5G everywhere in the world. It's not variable. And the geoengineering, which is spraying in the air, I have to say, I noticed there's less spraying. You guys have less spraying, at least where I've been, than what we have in Canada. But really? Anyway, it's happening here. It's happening everywhere. So the spraying is identical as well. So we stuck with those 4 so that we can all, no matter what country you're in, that's the target. That's the subject matter. So that's why we stick with that. So we don't do fluoride in the water, and we don't do human trafficking, and we don't do there's a lot of horrendous things happening, but they're not happening consistently to everyone everywhere. These are. So that's the reason why. The smart meter is going on your home. A weapon is going on your home. A weapon is going on your home. It's not what you think it is. So, it's a lot of people think that who cares about a smart meter? I'm telling you, you should care about it. Anyway, so our community, when you join Inpower, and it sounds like I'm selling Inpower, but I'm just explaining what it is, because a few people are considering joining, and there's quite a few who already have, and they can attest that this is how the culture of our community is. So we try and just follow simple rules like this, and it's working. We don't have a lot of "you're an idiot," none of that stuff going on. It's quite unique in that way. So these are the 11 countries that we're in. I think we can add Spain. Since I've been gone, had about another week left, so they probably are going to release Spain. So we'll have 12, at least before the end of the month. This is what we have. We have the thing that Dave built, which is our NOL creator. We have webinars. Dave and I do every second Wednesday, well, Thursday for you, Wednesday for me. We swap off between a biblical seminar and a law merchant seminar. So the Bible one is for those who don't normally go to church. And if you're going to go to church, this is a good one, because look at like, very few churches will allow this. So, but anyway, so it's in a refreshing kind of way. We just talk about it more like a contract, because it is. The guy that I was talking about in London, or wherever he is, but the guy claiming to be the king has put his hand on it and sworn to defend it, which means all of your politicians who are swearing oaths to him, and I know they're trying to disguise all this, but it's still all there. They are subject to it too. So you want to pick it up like a contract. Yeah. I'm not so sure that's better, but it's a little hot. I can talk closer, and then you don't have to have it so. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so we do a webinar on law merchants. So we don't get into templates to how to pay off a bill or anything like that. We stick to our actual mandate, but we will give you the principles behind it. Like, why does an acceptance work? We'll give you the history of what an acceptance is. And once you understand the concept in law merchant, you'll go, oh, I see what this is, because they took money off gold about 100 years ago. So there's a lot that they didn't tell us. But if you go back further and see how it worked amongst the merchant class, then you'll see why these things are the way they are, and that you can participate in this because with your birth certificate, they turned you into a merchant. And you'll hear some of the things where they say they turned you into a corporation, but they turned you into a merchant so that they could monetize your signature. Because only merchants' signatures were considered money, in the Middle Ages. So now we're all merchants. And part of being a merchant is a contract does not have to be a common law contract. It can be an agreement. And then there's assumptions that you understand how this all works, but you don't. None of us did. So they left out that part. And then they say, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse, and all this stuff. So I flip all that back on them. I flip it on lawyers a lot, because lawyers aren't actually told any of this stuff either. And they go, there's no basis in law for what you're doing. Oh, really? Well, what about this one, that one, that one, that one? Sorry they didn't teach you at law school, but ignorance of the law is no excuse. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's kind of fun, because no offense to any lawyers in here, but with all due respect, they were not given all of the information, because the law school is controlled, it's owned, it's a business, and it's owned, and they control the curriculum, and it's generally owned. If you go back into history, the merchant class opened all the museums, the universities, the opera houses, the arts, which you could say is now media, the music industry, it all started way back then. It's the merchant class running all that. So, yeah, it doesn't take long to figure out what's going on there, if you have the right background and information on like why things are the way they are, because they lie. You can connect with a lot of people, blah, blah, blah. So this is the stages, going back to the question here. We send the round one, we wait 14 days. We actually add 17 so that there's some mail, because mail tends to cross, and so we add another 3 days. Then there's another round, which is a notice of fault, because they generally go silent. Most of them go silent, or you'll have a lawyer going, there's no basis in law for what you're doing. And that's pretty much it. Those are the two main things that happen, like as far as a response. There's the odd time where a lawyer may, I'm going to charge you with harassment, but it's very seldom, and we have an answer for that as well. So round 3 is the notice of fault. So now the contract has been ratified. They have agreed based on their own customs and principles in law merchant. So this is now you've done the same thing that they have been doing to you most of your life. You just didn't see it for what it is. But anyway, you're doing it, and as you're doing it, you're learning this, and you'll start to see it in other parts, other aspects of your life. We hear that a lot. I'm not sure if anybody here can testify to that, but they're starting to see, oh yeah, they're asking for my signature on this. Like, why? And they're like, oh, they're turning this into a bill of exchange. Because they can see that all the ingredients are there. They're just missing the signature. So like they'll send out, and pretty much everybody here has got one, an application for a credit card. And when you put your signature on a piece of paper, it can be turned into money. And I can show you that in the Bills of Exchange Act. A blank piece of paper with just a signature on it can be turned into a bill of exchange, and a bill of exchange is money. They just don't tell us all this stuff. So once you've gone through round 3, you now have a contract which has your daily fee in it, which could be $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, $60,000 a day, until they stop spraying, putting smart meters up, start vaccinating, and stop putting up 5G. It's just a deal. You keep putting that stuff up, I'll keep charging you. That's how you guys do it. We're doubling up back to them. So the first true bill comes out, and then every 30 days, you just keep going. At round 9, your first bill, which is round 4, has gone 90 days delinquent, which now makes you're moving into a perfected bill, for those that understand that. Perfected bills are sought after in the world of commerce. There's a lot of them in the stock market, mixed in with mutual funds, et cetera. We're creating all that kind of stuff like a mortgage, wrapped mortgage. So this is a bill of exchange. And this is the thing that takes a while to get your head around, because it says bill on it. And we've been told a bill, you send a bill, and then you get the money. Bill, money. Bill, money. From their perspective, the bill is the money. And they're getting paid twice. So this is a typical bill of exchange. This is from the Hudson Bay Company, which was a London company that had a vast amount of land in what is now known as Canada. And all commerce had to go through the Hudson Bay Company. It had a monopoly on everything. You could not deal directly with the native people there. They were allowed to make their own laws. You know what Walmart is? So Walmart's allowed to make its own laws. Like, you must shop at Walmart once a month, or there is a fine. Yeah, see, it sounds funny. Government of Australia, you cannot do this, otherwise you have to pay this. Same thing. So this, they weren't hiding it then. They're hiding it now. Australia is a corporation, or the government of Australia. So this was the Hudson Bay Company. It had, I can't remember how many hectares of land, like just millions of acres, like huge amount. And it had forts everywhere. They were allowed to have cannons at their forts. So Walmart, yeah, here you go, cannons, guns, jail, court. A corporation was allowed to run courts. Nothing has changed, people. Nothing. So The courts were, of course, enforcing the laws of the corporation, and it was very similar to what most of you experience here. Very one-sided, not fair, not impartial, corrupt. This has been going on for hundreds of years. So this is a bill of exchange. So a bill of exchange is a credit note. So it has to have 4 things on it. It has to have somebody is paying somebody else. And of course, if you look at the Bills of Exchange Act, according to them, this and this could be the same person. It's like, really? I wonder if you could ever abuse that. So anyway, and this is creating money. So anyway, it has to have at least 2 names on it. It can have 3, so or more even, but it has to have at least 2. So somebody's paying somebody, and it has to have an exact sum, and it has to have a date when that is due, and then the only other thing that it has to have is a signature. It's a signature of the drawer, which is usually the person the money is owed to. I wonder if that could be abused. I mean, I get to write something that somebody owes me money, and it turns into money? What's your name? Joy. Julie. Oh, good thing I got it right, although wouldn't matter anyway. Because I can write, Julie owes Cal Washington $85. Canadian dollars, they're worth more than yours. Yeah, Australian is. And I could date it today, and it's money. I could take that with my buddies, all my merchant buddies, and go, yeah, she owes me the money. Oh, yeah. This is how the Rothschilds became the Rothschilds. This is how the Windsors became the Windsors. This is how the Rockefellers became the Rockefellers. So, this company was handing out these things like this for all the beaver pelts and everything that was coming. So here you go. Yeah, here I'm paying you with my signature. There you go. Take the beaver pelts, which are real things like this and that and that. Taking the beaver pelts back to London, turning them into hats and jackets and everything, and selling them for silver, which is this. So, if I can do that on a piece of paper and ink, get the raw materials based on nothing, and then turn them into something, and then people are giving me this, am I going to get wealthy? Yeah. This is how this whole system works. And I'm losing money here. So this is what we're creating. A bill of exchange. Because we've got them into an agreement, and then we've said we're going to charge you X amount of dollars per day, then we start billing, and the bill is a bill of exchange. So you're writing your own money. Yeah, so we're up to $10 billion altogether, worldwide. And it doesn't matter if they pay it, because it is the money. We're using their system against them, because they turned us into merchants with our birth certificate and the capitalized name. Sucks to be them, because it's all being turned around and used against them, which is what that Bible verse is talking about. So again, those that don't pick up the Bible, just read it a bit. Okay, so that's what a bill of exchange is. It's going to take you a while to understand that the bill is the money, and don't be alarmed at that. It's a cognitive bias. Because I've had people say, yeah, I understand that the bill's money, but how do you collect the money? I just explained to you, yeah, I understood that, but how do you get the money? I'm like, the bill is the money. Yeah, I heard you, and I understand that, but how do you get the money? I'm like, So this is what money is. It's a store of value, blah, blah, blah. And a bill of exchange is money. This is the same thing again. Crypto is now money. And it's just, I don't even know what it is. It's really nothing. It's ones and zeros, I guess, at the end of the day. But anyway, it's now becoming money, and the system is moving towards that. Babylon is moving towards that so they can get more control, more money, and more everything. So what we're doing, so here's our bills of exchange. We're at 10 billion. And this is projected, so we're kind of at, the last time this was made was in July. So we're at 10 billion. I think we're at 11 now, but this is where we're projected if we just stayed with the people that we have now doing the, at the same rate. So this is where we're projecting. So if more people join, of course, that curve will start to go more straight up. I hope you understand that. We can take all their money, all of it. How many people does it take to change the world? Turns out not that many. Here's the numbers. So one man or woman with one cause, like one of the four smart meter, 5G, blah, blah, that's what we call causes, and 4 respondents, so you send to 4 different people that are involved with that cause, and if you were to charge them $20,000 a day, back when we did this, that was our average. I think our average is a little higher now, but going by this average, $20,000 a day times 30, which is a month, you're generating $2.4 million in bills of exchange. We're doing it all in US dollars. There's reasons for that. Everything, like the current world store of value is in USD. The U.S. also has some unique things, and I don't want to get too far into it, but whoever designed the U.S. Constitution knew this day was coming and knew that there had to be a place worldwide that you could actually defend against this thing. It's coming more and more clear. So they have set it up so that any contract that is denominated in US dollars falls under US jurisdiction. You just took everything right out of Australia and they got nothing to say about it. And if, I don't even want to say it. If the right president were to get into the United States and things were changed, they could actually collect these bills because they're in US dollars. And the collector for the United States is the IRS. They are adept at collecting. So you got to understand this, how this system is set up. Things like the IRS or the CRA, which is our Canadian equivalent, they can just go into bank accounts and gone, gone, gone. And they know where everything is. So if that were ever to flip in a positive way, all these Rothschild money, they got the money hiding in that country and in that island and everything, they know where it all is. So that's a possibility, but I'm not holding my breath, just to let you know. That's why I didn't want to bring it up. With or without that happening, it is in U.S. jurisdiction, and it falls under, we're denominated in U.S. dollars, and it falls under U.S. jurisdiction at this time. But in our agreement, in the contract itself, and then on every bill, it says we can switch the denomination to whatever we want. Again, this is what they would do. How do you like me now? We're doing it too because you turned me into a merchant. You said you didn't turn me into a merchant? Give me, no, they won't say it. Their system is built on it. They can't say it. So we're almost like teasing them. Yeah, dare you to say we're not a merchant. Ooh. So it's a clever thing that has happened, and it's not me. Like everybody thinks it's me that I'm the brainstorm. No, I'm just telling you what has happened. There's an unseen hand that has done all of this. Can see it. I'm not what a lot of people think I am. Anyway, I'm okay, but I'm not a rock star, like whatever. So anyway, that's what you can generate at $20,000 a day. It's staggering. And if we get larger groups, 1,000 people will generate 29 billion, almost 30 billion annually. 500,000 people, 500,000 people will generate 15 trillion annually. 1 million people can generate 30 trillion annually. That's more than the GDP of the United States of America. Their whole production of their whole country, 1 million people sending pieces of paper, creating bills of exchange, can create that. We can out-money them. They have never seen money. They wish they could be on this side of it. It's taken them centuries to gain the trillions or quadrillions or whatever they've got. We can take it all very quickly. So with what we're expecting, if we just stayed where we are, like with the group we have, we would hit 10 trillion by 2027. So we want more people to be involved so that we can hit that 10 trillion much sooner than 2027, because there is a little bit of urgency. These are weapons. Here's where we are as far as the countries that are generating bills right now. Canada, and I have to say, it's mostly these guys in Montreal. They have a group there. There's about, it keeps growing. There's probably about 30 of them now, and they are just every weekend. They've got it all organized. 2 of them became commissioners of oath, so they don't even have to go to a notary. They're just bam, 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 bam. They're just creating money like a machine. It's incredible. So that's why Canada is. It's really one group. If we took that group off, we'd probably be down where the U.S. is, but because they're crazy. So we're on this right now. We're at about right now we're doing about $1 billion a month. When we first put the documents out, it took us till last September to get our first billion. So we're almost at a year of billing. I think it was by November, we had our second billion. Then we had our third billion before, just around Christmas. Now we're at $1 billion, like it's increasing. And so we're at about $1 billion a month. Then it'll be $1 billion every 2 weeks, and then $1 billion every week, and then $1 billion every day, and then $1 billion every hour as we grow. So we can literally, if you read Revelation 18, for those that aren't, Bible, don't say that word again. You'll see that what it says there is that it falls in an hour, it falls in a day, like there's a fast transfer of wealth. Doesn't say what it is, but I'm here to tell you, looks like this is what it is. And I'm not blowing my own horn or anything. I think we're doing what God has put out there in the contract. So, because it has all the earmarkings of it. So we can have a massive transfer of wealth in a very short period of time, and there's nothing they can do about it. Because their system is completely built on it. The minute they say you can't do that, oh, really? Well, then we have to undo a whole bunch of stuff that you guys have been doing for like forever, since Babylonian times. So they won't do it. They can't. They're stuck with their own stuff. So they're in a serious default situation. And this, for those that, again, know some Bible stories, this is about, really at the core of this is about the claim of Lucifer for the throne of God. And this is how this is being played out. And that's why sins and debts are interchangeable and all this stuff. So there's a lot to this, which I can't get into here, but there's a lot of correlations. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities, rulers, and evil in high places. This is where this goes. We're defaulting the whole thing. So here's some some of these people you recognize, they got notices of liability. And when you hear the stories, it's when you go back and look at some of the, like go back and look at the newspaper clippings. He left with 15 minutes notice. What was that? Why are you leaving? Well, I'm tired. Oh, has anybody got a job? Yeah. And one of those guys had death threats. We did a skip tracing on one of these guys. I won't say who. Because he got death threats, and the police said, well, you should probably, move out of your house and, and go into protective. No, I'm not doing that. He got the notice of liability, 15 minutes notice, disappeared. Everything, all his homes, we think he put him in his wife's maiden name, and all, like he went dark, trying to hide all his wealth. I didn't mention his name. But so why would a guy like that, he's obviously connected. He was looking like he was going to be the next prime minister as far as I understand. And yet he's hiding all his assets. Why? Because the bills are real. He knows they're real. And he knows a negotiable instrument with his name on as a debtor, debt instrument with his name on it as the debtor could be collected by anybody because these are negotiable. It terrifies them. Only those that understand what's going on. It's always generally high positions. Not the super high. They seem to be psychopathic and just, I don't care what you do. But at this level, they have knowledge. They have the same knowledge I'm trying to give you. They know about law merchant and all that. So there's some of them. These people are all on our list. They've all got documents. Well, there's no formula. They just one. We've seen people. Yeah, we've seen people. Yeah, we've seen people with one, like Rochelle Walensky Rochelle Walensky in the United States. She was the head of the CDC. 1. Boom. Why are you leaving? Oh, just time to go. That's what, go and read it. And read it with the idea that she got documents they're not talking about, and that now everything starts to make sense. Yeah, it's just time. Yeah. What's that? Yes. No. The document follows I'll just quickly say this, but the document is written to 2 entities, the man or woman and the position. So when the man or woman leaves the position, the document follows them as a man or woman and stays with the position. So the next man or woman that comes in instantly, so you basically double up at that point. Well, we had a health ministry, I'm not sure if they've even filled it, in New Brunswick. We're still looking for a health minister. Few people have come forward, but just nobody wants this high-paying job that you worked all your life to get towards, but nobody seems to, no, I don't want that one. I'll take Nova Scotia, but not New Brunswick. Yeah, so it starts to happen. And that's the first time we've seen that, because normally they can fill them, but eventually if enough people do this, they will stop filling them. It's like the dam will start to break. They can't keep up. There will be a tipping point. The tide is coming in, and it will eventually start going out. And there's nothing they can do about it. So it all comes down to money. Everything is about money.
How does that affect the insurance?
Pardon me?
How does that affect the insurance? I'm sorry.
How does it fix insurance?
No. How does it affect the insurance?
This is liability. So if they have insurance, if they're bonded or whatever, the insurance can pay it. It's not our problem.
But will it deplete? That's what I'm saying. Like, will it deplete eventually? The insurance.
There's a finite amount of money in the planet right now, even though they're printing it right now, but there's an end to it. As you can see, we can hit that end. So it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if they pay. It doesn't matter if they don't pay. Like it just, we're operating at a level that is going to just undermine the whole thing. It will collapse. It will become redundant at best.
That's what I mean. Like, will you get to the stage where their insurance will just not have any?
Insurance, we haven't seen anybody pay anything. So, and we've had some risk management, like insurance companies go, we're not paying. And those that, like when I was doing the judges, the Attorney General got on TV, we got to up the bonds for our hardworking judges. I said, yeah, because I'm out moneying you. You can't cover what I can do with a pen and paper. So, yeah.
Couple of questions. You said $20,000 USD.
Yeah.
Where do you pull that figure from? Because isn't fees supposed to be reasonable, proportionate to cover your whatever that it is? So where do you get that figure from? And also, if you say it's bills of exchange, I also don't get how you're getting it for money. But so my question is, have you redeemed these bills of exchange for goods, services? Can I go with my bill of exchange and buy a cheeseburger? Otherwise, this is all theoretical,
Yeah.
and you've not converted it to a tangible anything.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, I've got more clicking to do. So, so in answer to the first question, everybody chooses their own fee schedule. We didn't just arbitrarily do it because everybody has their own conviction on that, their own fear to get over. Everybody's going to have to get over a little bit of fear. We all start there, anxiety or whatever. So some people only put $1,000 down. Other people are doing $1,000 a day. So it's arbitrary. And the reason why we can get away with it, even in the heavenly realms, as far as any accusation, is because Revelation 18:6 says, fill the cup double. Oh, who agreed to this thing? Oh yeah, Charles, I agree to this contract. That all the peoples can follow the instructions in there and it's all good. It's like a perfect storm. You couldn't write this any better. When they think back at, or they write books or whatever in the future, they'll be talking about you people in this room and et cetera, and how this came about. We're on this journey. We can't see the full results of it yet, but you can see where it's going, and it's like so clean. So clean. It's amazing. And I didn't do it, so just, don't even think it. So here's some other notables. Of course, Joseph Biden couldn't quite get into the circle there. He's like, yeah. No. And yeah, Trudeau's he's on my list. I've sent to him. And the Queen of Denmark is the first royal that I've ever seen move. She got 14, go answering the question over here. She got 14 NOLs. 10 on smart meters and 4 on vaccines. And talking to our Denmark group, everybody in Denmark was shocked. Because her mantra was, grew up with her, she's been there since early 50s, her mantra was, I will never abdicate the throne. It was like her signing off thing. It was like she said it all the time. New Year's Eve speech, I'm abdicating the throne. So where to now? This is getting into your question there. So the world of cryptocurrency is coming, and most of us, like me, don't understand it, and it's all like, I don't know about that. Looks like it's evil, whatever. I'm with you on that, but I can see that they are headed towards that. So all we have to do, we're developing our own coin. And we're developing an exchange network, and we're going to give the crypto back to the people who create the bills of exchange. So we're not selling crypto like most of them are out there. It's literally a way of taking the whole pool of us all together, turning it into a crypto, and giving it back so that you can transact with it. It will go up in value not based on market value or buying and selling and all the pumping and dumping that goes on. It will be literally not backed by the bills of exchange because, like he said, the bills of exchange are too big. Like my bills are $4 million and it's all on one page and it's not. You can't rip it up. So this is the way to turn that $4 million into something that is more transactable. And so everything will be very plain. Like I said, we know exactly where our bills of exchange at any given time because we're issuing them to you. We don't sign them, and you hold your own bills. You don't send them to us. We're not holding them like a bank. So it's completely decentralized. All the wealth is not in one spot. So they can't blow up Building 7. They can't find them. It's literally, they're going to be everywhere. So, but we know how much there is because we actually send them to you, like the actual document that you print out, a PDF. So we track everything before you actually sign them. And then we want proof that you've signed them and mailed them and all that stuff. So this is how it's, how it's set up so that it's nobody can, very difficult for somebody to come in and manipulate the system because we're designing it that way so that it can't be. We don't want to have this repeating to our great grandchildren. We want this to end. If you could use the mic, that would be great. We'll do a Q&A after, okay? So I'll just quickly get through this. So we have a worldwide wave coming up on September the 9th for me. It's September 10th for you. That's where we're taking a bunch of people together in these waves, and we found that pushing together, there seems to be some energy that happens in concert, like where 2 or 3 are gathered. Again, that's from the Bible for those who just don't really want to look in there. Yeah, that's in there too. So there's more energy when people do things together. So like more happens. And it's exponential. It's not like addition. It's more like, and we found that through experience. So we have a $50 discount. It's only $150 a year. We're not trying to make money. We're actually trying to get away from the money, but we do need it just in the transition. So we've never charged a lot of money. We have to charge something to be in a PMA, so that it's more like a dues. We don't call it that. We stay away from certain words. But we are a church out of the United States with an integrated auxiliary, which is Inpower. And so you're joining a PMA on steroids because in the United States, again, Congress can make no law respecting an establishment of religion. No law. So you're a part of that whole thing, and this is set up a long time ago. So we can be totally in the private, and there's nothing they can do about it. I keep saying that because there's nothing they can do about it. So that's it, and we can do a Q&A.
Thank you. That was very interesting. That last bit there, you mentioned PMA, Private Members Association, which led me to a question. Whilst you're issuing these notices to all these people, and as you said, some work, some don't, what method is in place to protect existing assets within the bank and property and so on whilst this is happening?
Well, if you look at, again in the Bible, if you look at verse 4, it says, come out of her.
Correct.
The fact that we are purposefully trying to, I don't want to, like take the system down, don't have your assets in that system. And we're going to teach, strategies, etc., as we get closer to replacing the old system.
Okay, I get that, but because we are so new in this, everybody's got their assets. If they own land in this country, like in Australia, that's going to be with the Lands Department, which have all been privatised, right? So, do you know what I mean? If you've got money in the bank, it's going to be in a bank.
Well, you get it out of the bank, is what I just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you into private trusts at all? So
you can do, like if you have considerable wealth, I would do some private trust type things.
Right, okay.
Because your situation is complicated. So learn that. We don't teach that per se, but at Living Free they do. So private trusts are a way to go to protect your assets, but basically get out of it, get away from the fiat system. You'll see as we grow, it'll become self-evident what's happening, and people will be clamoring to get out and get on the new thing, and trying to figure out ways to do it. So you know, we're gonna have to deal with all that as it pops up.
Still don't get it. With the crypto stuff, when you're converting the bills of exchange to crypto, I can do that now. I can mint my own crypto coins and just trade it with people. I don't need a bills of exchange to do that.
No, you don't.
Yeah, so what you're doing with the crypto, but that only works if it agrees to use that crypto to exchange for goods and services. But so my original question was, if it's in US dollars, how, obviously Rothschilds, all that, they can convert that to houses, to cars and all that, but you can't do that right now unless you use this crypto. So my question was, how could you actually buy something with the bills of exchange?
You can't buy something with the bills of exchange, but you can buy something with the crypto that's representing the bills of exchange.
Rothschilds are already doing it, or whoever it is, they're using the bills of exchange right now to get goods and services.
Yes, because they own the bank. That's why.
Oh, so they're using the bills of exchange to get those actual dollars from the.
Well, there are no actual dollars, but this is how the Rothschilds became the Rothschilds. If you don't understand who that family is, I'm telling you, this is how they did it with bills of exchange, and because they all wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, this is all money. And the rest of them don't know. Okay, well, sucks to be them, but we're rich. That's how they did it. So I'm teaching you what they did, and we can do the same thing back to them. And they can't say that we can't. So the bills of exchange are an important part of this because it is taking the value from this current system in the rules of the current system. So the value is on the paper, where a crypto that you just described has no inherent value. It's just a token. This will actually have a value because we will closely watch the total amount of bills of exchange and only issue crypto based on the amounts. So those that are wealthy that understand the system are going to see what we're doing. They're going to go, oh, that's the one that I want to have my, not these other ones, because I can see what they're doing. This will actually keep going, and there's a little bit of, through mathematics, because we're dividing the total amount of bills by the total amount of tokens at any given moment. So the bills will always be higher than the tokens, and it's just a straight division. So there will be, the value of the token will go up over time, based on mathematics, not on market, like a free market.
Hey, can I just ask, so just a two-point question. The first one, are you saying that with the banks, it's the bill of exchange is representative of the binary digits they give you to buy a house? It's almost like, it's not real money. They just gave you a number and you managed to buy a house based on that bill of exchange. And the second question is, if the bill of exchange is not being paid in cash, cold hard cash, are you potentially looking at just, basically, like you said, the collapse of the old system and the establishment of a new one? Is that what the main aim is?
That's what the main goal is. Because the current system is designed for the very few at the top, by design. It's a design. So all the money goes to them because they so-called lend it to countries, and they want it back through the income tax, and they just keep amassing this wealth. It's all based on paper. It's like there is no wealth. There's no money. Like even this is just a metal. It's a nice metal. It has properties for certain things, but it's just a metal. This is a metal. Like it was a way of exchanging values that, so if I had corn and you had pigs and you had a tractor, well, I don't need a tractor, but and you don't need, so we could transact, we could trade, barter with something to exchange with. So a crypto does that, but like the gentleman over here said, most of them are it's just a crypto, and people believe in it or they don't. Like Bitcoin can go to $70,000. What does that mean? Number one, it's completely tied to the dollars. You have to buy them or sell them. So it doesn't get rid of the current system. So we're doing bills of exchange is the first move. Take the wealth off their paper. It's not real, it's perceived, but we all believe in it, so we can't jump out of that. So we take the perceived wealth off their paper and put it on our paper. You all hold your paper. We, I don't want to say track it, but I guess that's the only way to say it. We are keeping a running total of all the paper that you have created, and then we're saying, okay, you participated in the paper, here's your crypto, and we just keep giving it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hi Cal. Thanks for coming to Oz. Question, do you foresee, or what do you think will happen if they crash the market? So in other words, all the US dollars are worth zero, same as that all around the world.
We have a clause in the contract and on every bill that we can change the denomination. Yeah, it's. Yeah, well, they can and they can't because they can't steal it because we're not putting it into their system to for them to grab it. It's in your. So it's in your cabinet, and so it's not they have no tally on it. It's not in their system. We're creating it outside of their system. Yeah, so that's the beauty of this. It's decentralized. Banks centralize. You make deposits. Everything goes through the bank. Your mortgage goes through the bank. Your credit cards go through. That's how they are amassing this amount of wealth.
Could you explain to everyone, with the massive values that you're being able to orchestrate generating, why you're still alive?
I can tell you, like an ERT team was sent to my house. They beat my brother by mistake almost to death. He has PSTD. He's a very strong guy. Knocked his teeth out, broken sternum, concussion, broken ribs. In jail, when I was in for 60 days, when I went in there, they, and just, my brother rarely visited me. He was at UBC and I was out in Surrey. He happened to be there that night when they came. And nobody knocks on my door. People just walk in. And so when I heard a knock on the door at night, and there was no car in the driveway or anything, because they came with the things, all in black, I knew it was police. I said, that's cops. So he went and answered the door, and they thought he was me because he's my brother, and describe him. Well, he's 6 feet tall, black hair, short, dark skin, blah, blah, blah. We have the same description. He's a year younger than me. So they had the wrong guy, and they almost beat him to death. So, and then in jail, they were screening as we went in, and they asked, do you have any problem with races? And I'm like, why are you asking that? He goes, well, if people have problem with races, we want to make sure that they're separated, and, different gangs, and, we want to keep them in different pods. I thought, oh, okay, that's reasonable. Until they put a racist in my pod. They moved him in. They moved the other black guys out, because there were some tough guys in there, and they brought this guy in, and I knew and he was lifting the leg weights with his arms. This guy was massive. He was well over 300 pounds, and I knew what he was. I ended up getting switched out, and it turns out that I was switched out from another guy who ended up coming in, who I knew, from out in the world. He came in the next day. Then my friends put a bond in with the warden at the jail that I was at. They moved me back, and that guy had moved back out. The reason why I am not killed is because God protects me. That's it. It's like, and there's a verse in the Bible. that says that those that are do the exploits of God would be marked. So there's a mark. That's why. And it's not from, they've tried.
Hey Cal, how you going?
Where are you? Okay.
I hope you get to enjoy some of Australia as well too, mate. I got a question about precious metals.
Yeah.
You were saying with the US how they have the ability to be able to take someone's bank account, obviously, and empty it. How does the value of precious metals, and saying that some Rothschild's guy has 4 gazillion tons in his basement, or we all have whatever amount we all have, the value of precious metals fit into all of this?
Well, the value of precious metal it's a thing. So if I can give any advice, because I'm the last person to give financial advice. I have no money. I really don't. And but it's a thing. If I can give any kind of advice, put your wealth in things, because they're tangible, they're here. They can't just turn it off, pull the rug out, and now it's gone to zero like they did in 1929. So buy art, buy silver, buy gold, buy tangible things, land, cars if you like, anything that is a thing, because it will have some value no matter where everything goes. You'll be able to exchange that thing for whatever the currency goes. Those that want to speculate, that's you're risking, but that's your choice, and you probably have done well by it. But that's what I would say, like things. So silver is a thing, gold is a thing, and so it hedges any kind of corrections, because it's still 1 ounce of silver, no matter how it's valued. Okay.
G'day, Kel. Just going back to the crypto, you were saying that the participants are the ones that will receive the tokens, and then the tokens will have utility within an ecosystem, obviously only through the participants that might supply goods and services. So the question is, how can you onboard outside of the participants so we can have a broader access to?
Yeah, we will integrate. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we will either jump on somebody else's blockchain, or we may even, I'm just going to leave that.
Yeah.
So there's options, and there's people coming up with options on that and on the tech side, because they understand what's happened with the blockchains and the cryptos, that they just keep capturing them. And so our intent is to never stay completely decentralized. And there's other people working on that end who are looking for us, and we're looking for them, and so.
And just a second bit to that then, if we're still in a fiat system, would it be possible to onboard fiat currency until it collapses so we could utilise that to buy tangible assets?
Yeah, we're thinking of having cards, something tangible that you can pass around. So there's technology coming up on that end as well, where the card has a value in the token. Then, because we're doing the bills of exchange, the token will go up in value as compared to other fiats. So that's what's going to attract those that are still wondering what to do, that have, they'll see what we're doing. It's quite simple. It's not complex. It's just simple divide. It's not some kind of algorithm. There's more complexity to it, but the premise is always at any given moment, total amount of bills divided by total amount of tokens at that moment. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Carl. Firstly, I'd like to praise God for you being chosen like Moses in these tumultuous times. And I just have 3 questions. Like once you actually create your public notice of liability with the fee schedule, would the fee schedule has to be stamped by notary?
You have to stamp your affidavits only by notary. So there's affidavits in the first 3 rounds. It's optional to have a notary notarize your bills. We recommend it, but we know there's a cost, and everybody's different financial situations. But affidavits are the only thing that have to be notarized.
And to produce the notice of liability, does it cost from your system?
From our system?
Yeah.
No. If you're a member, we just send them to you. Yeah.
And with the membership fee, is that just one-off?
I didn't catch that.
Yearly, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's 150 annually, but we have a deal for this wave coming up for this group is $100 for the first year.
Thanks very much. Yep, congratulations.
There's you can do it $15 a month as well, but who we got? Oh.
Hi. Kel, my question's about respondents. I was doing some research last night and into smart meters, and I found out that locally they're doing a trial. So my question is, can you sort of preemptively, you can bill a CEO or a managing director or whatever, even if it's just in a trial?
Because we have some wording that, if you've done any reading of acts and the manipulation of the English language,
yeah. And they're looking for
take the
feedback.
cup that they've been giving you
Yeah.
and hand it back. So we've got language like that too.
Okay, so that it even says they're looking for feedback, which of course is their offer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we say that it's a meter at or near your dwelling.
A meter.
At or near your dwelling or workplace.
Not even installed yet. This is just there's a trial area.
Yep. I can tell you there's a meter on the back of my house. Is my house near yours? It's not? Near? What does near mean? Compared to Jupiter, is my house near yours? Okay, well, my meter counts for you. And same thing with the vaccines. It's anybody in my direct or indirect care. I care about you, and I care about you, and I care about you. You're all my dependents because I care about you. So if you got vaccine, I can charge you. Yeah, so we did all the language stuff that they did right back at them, and they can recognize it.
Hi, Cal.
Where are you?
Over here on your left.
Okay.
Thanks for this evening and your talk. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit more if you had some theological training or because you're using the Bible to make certain claims. So is there a place where we can find out more about your theological education, and do you have any views on Romans 13, 1 to 8?
I didn't catch that.
Do you have any views on Romans
8?
Romans
13?
Romans 13, 1 to 8. And would you be able to, maybe that'll do, but I was just wondering, who you might believes in ultimate authority, or Jesus Christ, or man, or are you able to speak a little bit more into that, or are we able to find? Is there a place where we can find out a little bit more about your faith?
Yeah, we have a Bible. We have a biblical series. Dave and I do once a month, I guess it is, where we talk about all kinds of things, including Lucifer claim, who Jesus is, what the Bible is as a contract, the king's oath or queen's oath as a contract. It's not in a non-religious way. So because people have a cognitive bias against the Bible, and that's why I keep poking at it in this room, because I know it's here. Like I just know it, and it's not a judgment. It's just how it is. But people have to kind of have a look. And a lot of people have had a look and went, I didn't know that was in there and didn't know this was in there. So the Romans 13 thing, how I deal with that with people who want to follow the government because of that, is the mark of the beast. Mark of the beast will be implemented by governments, and are you supposed to obey that? So there is so everybody goes, no, I won't obey that. Okay, well, so where's your line? Like, are you going to wait to the very last day and then all of a sudden, then you're not going to disobey the government? The government is corrupt. Jesus Christ is the Son of God, the living Son of God. He was the firstborn of all creation and came in the flesh, died to pay the debts or sins, depending on which, if you're talking commerce or more of a spiritual thing. But it's all the same thing. Yep.
Hi, Cal. Thanks for being here. My question is, unfortunately, about the cryptocurrency again. So my understanding of any currency is that it is an externalization of value. So I'm curious to know whether it's sort of in the minds of the team who's developing this cryptocurrency, if there's any inherent system of equity or balance within that currency, because, to my mind, there's no inherent problem with wealth so long as it's not stockpiled or hoarded. Money is not an issue if it moves freely and is able to support as many people as it can who need it. It's when people start to collect it and keep it from themselves and stop it from moving to the people who need it that it becomes an issue. So I'm curious with cryptocurrency, whether it's yours or anyone else's who's developed, whether there's any inherent system of equity or balance within that cryptocurrency to prevent it from being hoarded and diverted from the people who need it.
Yeah, part of that inherent thing is that we're going to be constantly issuing it. So the problem with this is there's only so much of it. And that was the problem that you just described. So when everybody transacted with gold, those that had the gold, if they weren't spending it, it wasn't circulating in the market. So as the population grew, you still had that same amount of gold. Like, it didn't go up unless there was a gold rush or something like that. So in the 1800s there was in Canada. So what happens as you try to expand the economy, like, okay, we need to build more ships. Well, who's got the money? Well, so part of the whole fiat system started with the merchants doing these bills of exchange. So that's the inherent part of what fiat sort of comes from, is this credit idea. Now, a credit idea isn't bad in and of itself either. It's just who's issuing it and how much are they getting back, like usury. And because the credit and a fiat system worked really well in a couple of instances with tally sticks, which had no value, they were just sticks. And then the colonial scrip, when the United States 13 colonies were there, they started issuing based on, a family would come, and we want to develop that land and plant corn. Well, we have no means to do it. We have no tools or anything. Okay, we will issue you scrip. So in other words, the money supply expanded at that point, as long as they would actually fulfill their end of the bargain and make corn, which then started to feed more people. So it can work if it's done in a way that is to benefit all, but the current system is to benefit the few, and it's by design. So we're designing our things as much as we can to not allow that to ever happen again, as much as possible. And the people that are around this have very high integrity. there are people who seek us out because of that integrity. They want to work with certain people, not even so much what we're doing. Is more like, I need to be with that group because their integrity is high. So, and that's hard to find, but we have so many people with that kind of mindset. They're born like that. Like, they just are that way. Like, it's amazing to have that many people congregate without, they just came. So we are trying to keep this thing decentralized and for all, not where a few get rich or anything like that. It'll all be very transparent, and that's about all I can say about that. But yeah, we are purposely trying to stay away from the current pattern of few getting wealthy and at everybody else's expense. Yeah, we're also going to be, Dave and I were even talking about this, we're also going to be teaching people about hoarding, et cetera, like, because because of the scarcity idea, we know that that's in people's minds. They're like, I got to hang on to this. So we do want to have teachings on that, like, don't worry about it, get it out there, because the more that we spread it, the more we all prosper. Like, it just, by hoarding, you do exactly what you just described.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you,
Yeah.
and welcome to Australia, or whatever land we're living on. My concern is with the 5G, and I'm just wondering, is there like a 5G group in each of the countries?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they're actually really focused and targeting at the right people at the
Yep.
right time and all that type of thing.
Yep.
And like there's a meter group, you know, smart meter group.
Yep.
And that type of, oh, okay, great.
Yep.
And so they will know, because like our towers that are going up everywhere, they're owned or whatever by different companies, different phone companies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we don't know necessarily what that tower, who owns that tower, but we want to address all the towers.
You can find out who owns them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so just tap into that group and then start doing their knowledge after that.
Plus, plus the English language again. The first statement that we have in the CITES, which is the whereas part of a document, is that there is a worldwide agenda to deploy 5G. And then the whole document is, we think you're part of that worldwide agenda. Tell me that you're not. If you don't, I'm going to charge you $20,000 a day. You have 14 days to answer. And it has to be answered like this. Because you started the offer. And here's the offer, Exhibit A. Yeah, this is why these people run. They can see what we're doing, and it's all their stuff. I learned their stuff the hard way. I got the pepper spray and the. Yeah.
Sorry, hi, Cal Shining. Just a brief question. I just joined, so when do you think the geoengineering NOL will be ready for Australia?
We just released Canada and the US, and I think Australia is the next one, or possibly Denmark. Going back, we've got quite a few backed up, and we only have a few that are working on it. We're still pretty much volunteer based, and we have groups doing specific things, and that NOL group is taxed because. Yeah, I'm on that. So we meet every week. We move forward every week, and there's just a queue that we're going through. But
I get confused between promissory notes and bill of exchange. What's the difference? When you use promissory note?
the main difference between a promissory note and a bill of exchange is, number one, who's drawing it. Generally speaking, the bill of exchange is drawn by the one that the money is owed to. And the promissory note is written by the one that owes the money. That's the main difference. They are very similar instruments. Yeah.
If people could just wait for the microphone for questions, that way everyone can hear it, because we can't hear the questions. We've got it over there for the moment.
Just a quick question about bills of exchange in terms of the interface of what the organisation is looking at. How will they eventually be exchanged? Will they ever be exchanged? Will they ever have any value or in terms of, and then how do you enforce that? Like, for example, at the moment, we could be writing up bills of exchange and sending them out to utilities companies, and they'll just knock them back.
Yeah, the bills of exchange are valid in their system, except their system is corrupt. And so it's like, if you're not part of the Masonic Lodge and done this sacrifice and that sacrifice and drank that blood and all that stuff, you're not in. The bill is the money. Crypto. It's just digital. It's yeah, ones and zeros. it's you know how you take your card when you're at the restaurant and you stick it in the machine, and all of a sudden it goes approved. Yeah, that's how it works. Just this is being recorded, so if you can say it on the mic, then people. Otherwise, it sounds like I'm talking about what was the question?
Hi, Carl. Thanks for coming down. I understand you understand this because you're presenting it so simply, right? It's a very complex matter. But
yes.
You're kind of reflecting their own system to antagonise them. It appears, and you're doing it through a PMA, right? Now, do we need to set up our own Australian PMA?
No.
Is there a high priest? Is there any mantras we need to follow? Or
no.
Is there any reciting of
no.
biblical verses?
Nope. The six things on there, I don't know if this will repeat, but like play nice, treat each other decently, forgive, look for the best in people, do the best you can. That's it. It's stuff like that. Like, it just makes sense no matter what your religious beliefs are, what your philosophy is. And we've had some difficult people, without getting judgmental, come in, and the culture, they don't assimilate. They don't get what they're after. They put stuff out and nobody bites. And then they're like, oh, this is different. Well, I'll just slink away. And then a month or so later, they come back and, okay, well, maybe I should change my ways. Yep. Welcome. It's an amazing thing. It's like, we teach the Bible because the Bible is a contract. So, and the powers that be, put it this way, when Queen Elizabeth died, whether she died or whether she, doesn't, like, none of that matters. Anyway, on her official death, Thursday, I guess it was Friday for you. Forgot about that. Anyway, on Saturday, Charles was in a room with 178 people. Have you ever tried to get something together in 3 days' notice? 178. Now, these 178 were not just, the 178 that are here. These are movers and shakers. They dropped whatever they were doing to be in that room, including, and because I watched it live, and you probably won't be able to find this, including the Lord Mayor of London. For those that have gone down any of those rabbit holes, this is the guy who runs the square mile inside of London, that runs the bar, all the lawyers in the world, all the banks, runs everything as far as that. It's the crown. He's in that room. He dropped whatever he was doing, and I'm sure he had nothing to do, to be in that room to watch Charles, who didn't want to do it, say that he was going to defend the Bible. And then the 178 signed the oath. They weren't there just to be, oh, this is a nice little ceremony. Their signatures are on the oath. It's a contract. That's why I say pick up the Bible, people, because they are relying on you not picking it up. Okay?
Again, me. I'm unclear what the purpose of your whole sort of enterprise is, because is it to, using the system against them to create the bills of exchange, but then you can't do anything, sort of, purchase stuff unless you've got the crypto. So is the point like to get people to leave you alone with the smart meters, the vaccines? Because I don't have any of those problems. I've got people hounding me, government departments abusing me. So can I use notices of liability for that? But also on that, why are the Mark Gagowans, the Dandy Andys running away? Because if you can't enforce it, why are they scared of this? Who cares if it's in this system? Why are they hiding assets? Or is it that they know that sooner or later we'll figure out how to enforce it, so we could actually take their houses and their cars, so we should Robin Hood this shit up and steal from the rich and give to the poor?
No, they know these are negotiable instruments. So when the Hudson Bay, like when the Hudson Bay gave you a bill of exchange for your beaver pelts, you went and bought your, I got to buy bullets. You would give that bill of exchange. You would, yeah. So, yeah, you collect from the Hudson Bay Company. So the bullet guy would go, well, I need to buy feed for my animals. He would pass it on to the feed guy. Oh, Hudson Bay Company, yeah, they're good for it. Off it goes. The bill is a negotiable instrument. When you're dealing with the I don't have any with me, but your Australian dollars, those are negotiable instruments. We all believe it's 20, 50, 100, but they're all the same. And it's the only difference between them is the color of the ink and how it's arranged on the document. This is twice as heavy and twice as thick as that one. This is 2 ounces, that's 1 ounce. But your dollar bills are the same thing, it's just ink. And you believe it has more value. It doesn't. It's a ruse, it's a scam. What's that? We believe it has value. So, yes. So I'm telling you, because of that belief, their pieces of paper have value. I'm telling you, according to their rules, and you can follow all of our stuff and learn this, we have just taken the value off of that $100 bill and put it onto your bill of exchange. It's the same thing according to their rules. So we're taking their stuff, using it against them, and taking all the wealth out of their system. If we all agree that this is now the values over here, who's not going to agree that their paper is worth $4 million? Nah, I don't think so. Of course we're going to agree. Yeah. Yeah, so there's some brochures up here and at the back for those that have to just slip out, but we'll take a few more questions. Yep.
Hi, Cal. I'd like to know, it's a great system, bringing down Babylon, great goal, but I'd like to know how we get the harm to stop. When do they stop chemtrailing? When do we take control and not be forced vaccines? When do we get rid of the harm, those 4 weapons?
Okay, I'll just ask a question. Who can come up with a bad thing that's happening in the world that money's not involved with? How do you corrupt a judge? How do you corrupt a politician? How do you get a child? We take the money from them, they have nothing to work with. the money is their thing. It's the mammon. It's a principality at a very high level. And once we stop believing in that and we believe in something else they have no control over, then all that stops. Their money becomes worthless. Because the only reason why you can grab a kid is because I'm going to get money. Well, if your money's worthless, I'm not grabbing that kid. It sounds simplistic, but it is kind of that simple. It's a very clever thing that has happened here. Like, this is diabolical, but it's kind of genius because we all believe in stuff, and we have to change those beliefs. And as soon as they change, it's gone. Like, if you ever watched the Wizard of Oz movie, once that curtain went back, they could never believe in that thing on the wall again. It's gone. So it's like that. The money's like that. Yep.
Now, just an awareness for everyone. Can you just let everyone know that there are 2 websites? There's an NOL Creator website and like the Facebook type. So you've got to log into one or the other if they're going to become members.
Yeah, you can't access the creator site without being a member. Yeah, so yeah, you can't.
There is 2 websites.
Well, for most people like me, I wouldn't know that, but the URL at the top will change when you go into the creator. Like, Dave can speak to all that, but we tried to do what's called a single sign-on, so you weren't into 2 different websites. So they are connected. For most novices like me, you won't know what he just said. You'll be just like, oh, yeah, it's right here. Click. So.
Sorry, hi, Kel. I just had something I just wanted to ask you, if I'm understanding correctly. I know someone who had a bill, or a demand for money, and he did a bill of exchange and attached a $1 check or something like that, and then the company came back and said, well, you still owe us everything else minus that $1, and he goes, okay, well, just give me the $1 back. And they said that they'd already cashed it, and he said, well, thanks for settling the debt, or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that the negotiable thing, or not really?
Well, I would say that's not a clean intention because that was losing a little bit of trickery, which, again, they're very tricky too. So I wouldn't recommend doing something like that. I would just pay with the $1 check, and if they cash it, then do that. But he kind of put a bill of exchange in there and then had it sent back. So he should have been trying to get them to say that it is paid based on the bill of exchange. I wouldn't mix like that. Yeah, it's not the best idea. But okay.
Hi, thank you for your time and energy tonight. Much appreciated. With the pending digital ID that's coming into Australia, and our politicians are talking it'll be activated before the end of the year, and your intention to bring in a blockchain or a cryptocurrency that is dependent on the internet, that they can control our access via our naughty points on our digital ID, how will people be able to access it if they block access to the internet?
They can't block access to the internet. It's a misnomer. The internet isn't like that. So, and there are people working on a peer-to-peer internet as well. It's already out there. It's just not can't handle a lot of bandwidth because there's not enough participants. So it's still in its infancy. There's a lot of technology out there. People working on things to get around the system the way it is now. Like, there's very smart people in a lot of different things. How I'm seeing it is like a big wheel, and we're just one spoke, and there's a whole bunch of other spokes, but there's an unseen hand putting it all together. And all these things, the conversations come at the right time. It's amazing to be a part of this. So we're just doing our part and trying to stay focused there, and we trust that we'll be able to marry up with whatever we need to at the time we need it.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is in relation to the notice of liability and it getting to its intended party. I have sent letters in the past, and this is Victoria Police as an example, via registered post, and they magically never get to their destination even though they're supposedly tracked by Australia Post and you pay extra. How do you know then that the notice of liability gets there?
You have to have proof of delivery. So this is an issue that's happening worldwide, that the mail is disappearing, and which is another sign. I just help people to laugh at it, because is that the best you got? Like pretending that you didn't get it? Like, really? And there's a chance of some serious jail time because there's heavy penalties for tampering with mails. So think about that for a second. If this was junk mail, why not receive it and go, toss it? But they don't. They run, they hide, they try to manipulate the mails. So we've come up, because we're all working as a group worldwide, people have come up with all kinds of creative ways, changing the envelopes, putting them in boxes to make it look like it's a delivery from Amazon. Seriously, we're having fun with this. One guy, one of the Montreal people, got a pink envelope, put perfume on it, and sent it to the guy's wife, and she's like, what? Yeah, so we're coming up with ways. We also use process servers sometimes. And generally, once you use a process server, because they just want you to go away. Like, hopefully they'll just give up. So we sometimes send process servers. We send the mail again. We've had people put complaints in all the way up to the postmaster in the United States and Canada. We got one guy who works at the post office in Canada, and he's going in the computers and and same thing in the United States. So we have a lot of creative people working together and communicating worldwide to get around this mail issue, because it is a thing. It's not huge compared to the amount of stuff that's mailed. It's a small percentage, but it is a pain, and it's like a mosquito, right? So.
Hi, Cal. The game-changing moment for me in all of this, watching your stuff in NOL and Inpower Movement, and also the Living Free movement, is we were never meant to realise that we were all law merchants, or land merchants, law merchants.
Yep.
And we are the creditors, and like you said, with our signature, we are the creators. So we're the ones that make the difference, and I think we were never meant to find that out.
No.
And now we know that.
Yeah.
That scares the hell out of them.
Yes, because I just told you. So this is the thing. We were not meant to find this out. Look up a document written by Mandel House, Colonel Mandel House, to Woodrow Wilson, which happened just at the time when just before the birth certificates came in, during the so-called Depression, about 100 years ago. And he explains everything. We were going to be chattel, and part of that letter is not 1 in a million would ever figure this out. And if they did, we would have plausible deniability. And I'm telling you, they're way past, because they've had 100 years of their arrogance of nobody finding out. Plausible deniability is gone, like long gone. That would have been like for the next 6 months or something, maybe to a year, his frame of reference there. Because most of it was, when they took the money off gold, was meant to be temporary. In Canada, it was for 6 months. And I've got the document. It actually said 6 months, and then they scraped it out, because this is back before there was, word processors and everything. It was a typewriter. And so they just scribbled it out and put 1 year in 1933. And then the year came up, so then they did another one, saying for another year in 1934. And then they just kept going. And we all have bought into this idea that the the dollar bills aren't redeemable. We all think that that's $100. What's $100? It's nothing. There's nothing backing it. Completely nothing. So we understand that. We can't change that now because it's 100 years old, but we can do the same thing that they did to us and take all that wealth that they've amassed, so-called wealth, and give it back to you, all you people. This is what Revelation 18 talks about. This is the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. All these verses that are in the Bible are all coming to fruition. These are all, we're going to inherit the land. The meek shall inherit the land. Like, it's ours. Yep.
Hey, Carl. You mentioned earlier how when you started this journey, you went through a divorce. You went through all those trials where you had, I think, 30 trials that you prove this process. Are you able to sort of paint a bit of a picture using those examples, like practical application, sort of what happened and how you went through it, just to really
Well, there was one, the judge ran out of the room the first time. In my divorce case, they just kept moving judge to judge to judge. One guy had heard my testimony and he somehow got off the case. I never saw him again, so I don't know what happened there. He might have retired because of this. Anyway, the next judge was livid. When I came out for my 60 days, I was helping my cellmate because I spent a month with him. And I went to his court cases because he told me when they were, and so I went in there and I bonded the case, and I went to the court, and I went there to give them notice, and the clerk goes, well, we're not taking this. I said, well, the judge is going to want to know that I've done this. It has nothing to do with you. I'm not filing it here. It's filed at the U.S. Treasury. It has nothing to do with you. But if the judge finds out that I was in here trying to give notice and you blocked it, you're going to hear about it. She toddles off. And comes back about 20 minutes later. She was gone a long time. And comes back, no, we're not taking it. I said, okay, fine. Doesn't matter whether you take it or not. It doesn't change anything. So the next day is the court day, and I go in, and there's a guy, I'm coming up the stairs in the big, New Westminster Courthouse, and a guy comes running up at me, are you here on such and such a case? And I didn't know who he was, and I don't like giving answers, and I said, I don't have to talk to you. Basically, and he goes, are you here on that case? I said, I'm here to help, or just here to help. And he goes, that stuff you came in here yesterday with, that's all bunk, and I went, oh, so you guys didn't take this. Well, how does that guy know about it? I still don't know who he is. So sitting in the lawn, now they open the court room, and I go in, and I can see that guy sitting in the front row of the galley, not past the bar. Still don't know who he is. They bring my cellmate in. He's sitting in the glass thing, sort of in, back in the middle of the room, because he's incarcerated, so they have him locked up. And the judge comes in, woman judge, and I know from the month and a half I spent with him, he probably appeared on that one 2 or 3 times, but I'm pretty sure he appeared at least 10 times, because that's just what they do. So because he'd been in for almost a year before in remand, pending trial. Like, it's bad, and it's all money. So anyway, the woman comes in and goes, I have to recuse myself from this case. First thing out of her mouth. It turns out that the accused lawyer is my husband's partner at the law firm. The last 10 times you didn't notice that your husband's partner was at the... I know you from somewhere. It took me 10 appearances. You're my husband's partner. Yes, I've seen you at Christmas parties and, you know, yeah, of course. I can't be on this case. Next guy comes in, so they stand it down. Next guy comes in, like right away, because he's already, you know, pulled from the jail. And he is red mad, spitting, like raging as he comes in the room, yelling at everybody. I'm like, so you guys didn't take that document yesterday? Are you sure about that? So he adjourns it. My buddy goes back to jail, and then he phones me. I can't phone in. He phones me out. He goes, that was weird today. I said, yeah. He says, you know that guy that was sitting in the front with the white hair? He says, yeah, that was my lawyer. That was the guy that ran up to me. It was his lawyer. He said he recused himself from the case as well. This is the same guy, you know, that stuff that you brought in here yesterday, that's all bunk, you know. Then why did you step down? Why did the judge step down? Why did that guy come in so mad? And it just went on and on and on. On his other case, because he had 2 cases running, I showed up there one time in the afternoon, and the freebie lawyer comes running up to me at the front door of the courthouse. Where were you this morning? I'm like, I'm not obligated to be here. Well, we couldn't call the case unless you were here, you know. I'm like, what? What is that? But this is what I'm trying not to act surprised, but I'm pretty surprised. Like, what have I, you couldn't call the case unless I'm in the room watching. The judge wouldn't call the case. Can you go talk to the judge right now? Okay. So I follow him into a courtroom. She's in the middle of things. She sees us at the back door. Okay, sit down, shut up. We're standing this one down. You, sir, come up. Like, shut down the case for me to come forward and talk to her. Like I was as if the queen had walked in. And so I come up to the bar. She says, can you come across the bar? I said, no. Well, we can't hear you. I said, I'll talk louder. And she said, we couldn't call the case this morning because you weren't here, and I'm still trying to act like, yeah, well, of course you couldn't. But I was really shocked at this. So she said, can you be here this afternoon, shortly after lunch? I said, yeah. She said, is 2 o'clock okay for you? I said, yeah. Okay, thanks. And then, okay, stand up, continue. On and on and on, I had these weird stories of just weird experiences with judges in the room. Another guy, he was in full foreclosure with a tax case. So the tax office had racked up his bill through fines and whatever, they just tacked stuff on till they got it past the value of his home. Then they started to foreclose. And a foreclosure takes a long time. So I kind of knew this guy through construction. Didn't know him well, but I'd seen him a few times. And so we ended up at his house, and I know you. And he goes, well, they're taking and his wife was packing. They're taking my house tomorrow. And she was they were packing. So they were out the next day. And so I said, well, okay, what's the deal? And he goes, there's a box there, and it was all unopened. And I said, did you not open any of this? And he goes, no. Did you appear on any? A foreclosure takes almost a year. It's long and drawn out. You got to go through 3 steps of this and 3 steps of that, and notices, and on and on and on. It takes a long time. And he goes, no, I didn't appear. And I said, dude, you're so in default. I don't even know what to say to you. You can't just ignore this stuff. You just can't. It's all tacit agreement. So they were just bombing through this foreclosure. And I said, I got to work tomorrow, so I can't come to court with you. But the best I can do is write a promissory note and a short affidavit. I said, you try and get, all I can tell you is go there, try to put this note in with the clerk. The affidavit they'll take, but try to get the note in with the clerk. But guarantee you they're not going to want to take it. So try and get it to the judge, and that's all I can tell you. Like, you're just too far gone. So he phones me about 10 o'clock in the morning, and he tried to go to the clerk. No, I'm not taking those, because we'd already done quite a few commercial instruments by then. This is, quite a few years in. So the clerks were told not to take these. So he went into the courtroom. Again, a foreclosure takes a long time. So there's a guy, he's not a judge, he's a master. He runs the foreclosures. And so they're all sitting there, and the judge doesn't come in the room. And everybody's sitting there, like sheriffs and the clerks and all the people that have hearings that day. Judge not coming in the room. The clerk goes to the CRA agent, which is the tax lady who's running the lawyer who's running the foreclosure. Come here. And whispering at her, and she's looking back at the guy like, what? Him? Yeah. Goes over to him, we gotta go. Judge won't come in the room if you're in here. He's like, He doesn't know anything. I mean, he doesn't know about capitalizing. He knows nothing, trust me. Like, he knew nothing. We just did what we could. So they put him in another room with a judge this time. So he's the only, they set up a room for him. So he goes in there, and as he's, walking down the hall, everybody's just dodging him because he's got this promissory note with, and he's waving it around like a monkey with a machine gun, and everybody's like, stay away from me with that. So he gets in there, and the judge is like, so blah, 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 and he says, can I give this to you? And the judge's like, no. And towards the end of it, it was, how long do you need to get this settled? And and the guy goes, 2 weeks? I'll give you 6 months. So long story short, he kept his home. I think he ended up paying the taxes, but he didn't lose his home that day. And on it goes. It just, so many stories of judges not coming in the room, judges recusing themselves. One judge gave what the same cellmate, this is after the mad guy, so there was probably about a week later they had another appearance, and there was a friendly older judge. He was very calm, had a long beard. I've heard of him before, but I had never seen him. I think it's the guy, but very wise man. And my friend's looking at me in the glass, through the glass, every time they answer, and I'm going, and the judge goes, you keep looking back at that man in the back. Would it be helpful if you could speak to him? And the prosecutor goes, no, Your Honor, you can't. Oh. And the judge went like this. Are you telling me what I can and cannot do in my courtroom? No, Your Honor. Okay. Is there a place that these guys can meet? He said, well, they can meet down in cells, and he can go where the lawyers talk through the glass. So he said, okay. But we're going to do that. We're going to stand this down. Sir, can you go down to the sheriff's office and they will guide you to where to go, and you take the prisoner back down into the prison and they can talk, and then we'll reconvene. So I go down there. The sheriffs go, we want your cell number, and we'll get him to phone out. I said, nope, that wasn't the deal. Well, that's not what we're doing. I said, I don't care. I really don't. I didn't ask for this. So I go back up in the room. The judge goes, did these gentlemen get to meet each other? And then they started talking about, oh, well, he wouldn't. Well. They're going to meet in this room right here. Oh, you can't do that, Your Honor. Are you telling me again what I can and cannot do? No. But he might pass him a weapon. Sir, do you mind being frisked? He didn't say frisked, but yeah. By the sheriff. I said, no. Okay, everybody out. Sheriff, you go search the man, make sure there's no weapons. Let him out of the glass thing. They can sit right back there. Sheriff, I want you standing up here, and I don't want you listening to them, and they can have my courtroom as long as they want. I've never seen that before. This is why, and I had so many experiences like this, this is why I know that this commerce thing is real. It sounds like a story, but it's real. It's how their system is built. And when you tap into it and believe me, I didn't know half of what I know now, but I was, people were running out of the way. Like Kevin Lynch, if you've been a director at the IMF and run a central bank of a major country, you're an insider. He knows this stuff is real. So, yep.
I'm hoping this doesn't give feedback. So we're going to finish up. We've been going for quite a while. I think we're past 10 o'clock. So, guys, guys, if you want to know more about Inpower Movement, there's these at the back of the room just on the way out and also at the front. And it's got the discount code for the $50 off for the first year. So feel free to grab those now. Some of you may or may not know that I actually live in Melbourne, and so I'm the only board member in Australia. So there's a couple of groups who want to form together as part of the My Place. So there's Bayside, Oakley and Rowville, who are going to work together and start to at least witness each other's documents, potentially look at sharing a notary and bringing the notary in and stamping those things together and working together in that process. I've offered to come down and speak occasionally just to help the group across. You don't need me, you've got everything that you need on the online platform, but it may just help sometimes to have someone in person as well. So I'm happy to come down and do that. So speak to any of your My Place leaders if you want to join that group that's starting. When's our next wave?
The 10th for you, 9th for
coming up
the rest of the world.
So basically everything you need is online. You don't have to do it as a wave together. You can do it individually. But it is good to have that support and work together. But you'll have all your questions answered online as well. But yeah, massive thanks for Cal to come down and share his time. He's got his son up the top there, and we're heading back to Gold Coast tomorrow. So we tried to squeeze this in the short time that we had him, and it's been awesome to have you. So once more, round of applause for Cal Washington.
Thank you very much. You're an awesome group. You're turned on, and yeah, just keep going. And consider joining Inpower, and you'll eventually join anyway, but the sooner the better.
Is there anything strange about Australia? You're visiting Australia. Anything really strange?
That there's nobody on the beaches. I'm serious, like, what is this beach and we're the only people on it? Like, come on, wow. Thank you.
A couple of guys from Oakley, if you can stand back.
Talk to
and help,
Peter, who's
back
talking
up.
right
Thanks.
now. Yeah.